To somebody who's waiting. Okay. Instagram. It's even crooked, everybody, but I need to find myself here. Anyway, while we're waiting. Where is me at? Your channel, there it is.
There you are.
One waiting, so
You're
we're
on.
okay. But I need to find myself here. All right. Anyway, so there's nobody but just me, right, or somebody, or you, or
I'm here.
you're here. How's it look, straight wise?
Yeah. A little crooked.
No, still crooked.
No, that's good. Lon's here, so is Lewis.
All right, Lewis who?
Post. Not Louis.
Louis.
No, Lewis.
All right, we're just getting ready. We're just getting set up. So get you something, get you some water, something to drink, be hydrated. Running a little behind. Something was wrong with YouTube, was crashing on me. All that doesn't matter, I guess. All right, Terry's in the room. So it is officially Pachanga Friday. While everybody gets their groove on, Terry, what are you drinking? I know, look, I'm manning up today just for Terry. A real beer. If you can't hold a wrench in a beer and it doesn't move, it's not strong enough, or a real beer, as my brother-in-law would say. And then, look, Pachanga Friday glasses. These are vintage. My name's on it. Says happy hour, peace and assembly grease. Also, thanks to Terry. If y'all want some of these are awesome. Make a great Christmas gift. All right. All right. Pouring a beer, and I'd seen that you wanted to have some head. Easy now, people. Easy. Easy now. For your stomach, so you don't have the gases. I was watching that restaurant or bar Impossible guy, and he said don't pour it slow. So anyway, I'm not talking about beer. I look crooked up there. I'm looking down. I guess it's official. So Terry, what are we gonna talk about? It's question and answers, automotive, generally engine stuff. I dropped a video earlier, a little short, and it's actually informative. I've actually had my mom call from her shop, and she took this and she showed it to all the guys on the counter and the guys in the back. And I like when what I'm thinking, actually other people think the same thing. So this is a service announcement to the walk-in customer is going to take something to a shop. If you didn't see the video, it's a YouTube short. You can go watch it. You don't have to because you're here now live. And what I'm talking about, you take a cylinder head to a shop and you want them just to wash it. You want them to spray wash it and either vacuum test it or pressure test it. And you leave everything on it. We don't want the whole car. I appreciate I'm real picky. So all the bolts, I like to put them back in the same spot. I Ziploc stuff, I write stuff. Get you a marker and get you a Ziplocs. Get you some Ziplocs. If you put all the stuff back on the head, I'm talking about the injector bolts that hold the injector rails on the head, the brackets that lift the engine out, the exhaust bolts all back on, everything on, and you leave sensors on. Sensors are expensive, and most shops, 99.58, 99.8, should I say 100% of shops, it's not up to them to take care of your sensors. They're going to get this, it's going to go in a spray washer, and then it's going to get pressure tested. That's how they're giving you that price, because I know what you did. You called and said how much you charge to pressure test. And you call around every shop and you went to the one that's the cheapest, right? All that doesn't matter. I'm telling you is that sensor, some of those sensors on cylinder heads, especially with variable cam timing, can be quite expensive. And you're leaving the solenoids and the sensors and everything on thinking that the shop is going to take care of them for you, because they're really, it's not that they don't care. They do. But they'd have to charge you $150. It's $100 an hour here at our shop to take all those sensors off, do what they got to do, and either put them all back on or just give them back to you in a Ziploc. Or see what I'm getting at? So you can still get quality work, and if you do a lot of the legwork yourself. Unless you're just going to drop it off and let somebody just take care of everything. But a lot of shops, I will. I'll take everything off, lay them on the table, go do everything, go put them back on, but you're going to pay $100 an hour. So why are you going to pay me $100 an hour to take bolts off and back on when you could have did that at home and saved yourself the money? Am I ranting too much? But this is just protecting yourself. So this is doing you a favor. If you want the door open at the shop, the next time you come in and with a smile on his face because he's happy to see you, take all this stuff off. He may not be too happy. You're thinking he's grumpy because he's had a bad day. He's probably grumpy because he's got to get this stuff out. And everybody's leaving the sensors on. So we're not responsible for your sensors. I know how much they cost, and I just can't be a butt. You know, I sit there and take the time to take, but y'all got to stop doing that. Take the sensors off yourself before you take the head to the shop. Take all your sensors off. Take all your brackets off. They don't want your car. All they want is the cylinder head. So, okay, the light's changing because I got a different light in here. I may turn that light off to make me a little bit brighter because, you know, I'm not so bright today. Hold on. I'll let Shop Mom tell me something while I walk off and change
I'll
the...
do it right now.
This is the one nice thing I'm doing today.
This is the one nice thing, and she's using this up. So I was hoping it was going to be for dinner or for something else. How's that? Is that any better? No one was complaining, but you know, I'm taking everything. All right. So did I vent enough? That's actually a big thing. Like I said, when my mom calls and says they took that and showed that to everybody on the counter. So when someone comes in, you need to tell them right then and there, because Pete in the back, who's doing the work, it's slowing him down. So it's just it's helping y'all. It's helping y'all by the person taking the heads into the shop. It all drops down to helping you. I tell somebody another thing that I give, especially when people call on pricing. Why pay me to do something that you can do yourself? Unless you just have a lot of money and you woke up in the morning, you check your bank account and you go, man, I got a couple extra zeros in my bank account. I'm going to help out Danny at Hill Country. You know, I'm going to go take him, give him some more of those zeros. But that doesn't really happen. I mean, occasionally there's some people who just, not that they don't know what they're doing. They have a lot of money and they just don't want to do it. I'll pay somebody to do it. When I go eat at a restaurant, it's not like I don't know how to cook, but sometimes you just want to be pampered. Okay, I got that. But for the 99 other percent that are on a budget, that get paid and then have to spread that and pay the electricity bill and everything else, I tell everybody the same thing. Don't pay me to do something you can do. You probably don't have a boring bar in your house, in your garage. Some people do, but you probably don't. Pay me to bore your block. But you probably got a set of wrenches and you could take these things off yourself. See what I'm getting at? So I charge $100 an hour and you're going to pay me.
You do not charge $100 an hour. Stop giving old pricing.
Oh, that's old pricing. So Shop Mom just has corrected me. That was old pricing. The point being, forget what it is like I said, the advice is don't pay a shop to do something that you can do yourself if you're on a budget. If you have no budget, and even if you have no budget, most shops, you know what they're going to do? Break that sensor off. They don't matter to me. I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to go put it in the machine, in the spray washer, or in the machine. If it breaks, it breaks. All right. So, you know what's interesting? Another interesting point. Today's rant day. Is it rant day?
You are ranting, but just so that you know, JW, who is an automotive machinist from Arlington, Texas. Hi, JW. JW is agreeing with you that the customer should remove that stuff before bringing the work in.
I'm hitting, at least if nothing else, I'm hitting the thing with the actual machinist. Because they want to do good work. But it is, a lot of the sensors take a special socket. If you really care, you want to take them off. I have another thing. You don't get spark plugs back. You leave them in the head. I got to take the time to go get a socket, go take them off before I do all the stuff I do. Especially if I'm doing pressure testing, whatever I'm doing a valve job. They go away, you know. Here's an interesting little tidbit fact. I don't want to say all. JW may agree with me. A lot of the heads that come in, I'm talking about a cylinder head that comes in the shop, they all have brand new spark plugs in them, almost all. And if it doesn't have new spark plugs, the number one's always missing. Why? It came into a shop, they pulled the number one out, they did a compression test, boom, now the head came off. But a majority of the time, a lot of the time, I see brand new plugs. Why? Because it goes into a shop and they're gonna tune it up first. They know it's got a blown head gasket, but maybe they don't. Okay, but when it comes in, it's gonna be diagnosed. So it has a miss in it. So I'm gonna do plugs, I'm gonna do all of the normal stuff, And then you got to the point of the head has to come off. It goes to the shop, and they're throwing away your brand new spark plugs. I have a box of plugs. You ain't gonna get your plugs back. You know, that's just if I gotta take them off, I'm keeping them.
Okay, so
All
Kent
right.
has a question for you.
Who does?
Kent Ward.
Kent Ward.
Is there an advantage in putting K-liners in flathead valve guides?
Oh. Well, I'm gonna say why, and the reason I'm gonna say why is because you can get the guide on a flathead is not like a guide on a Chevy, a Ford, a Chrysler, a Dodge, a Peugeot. You know what I'm getting at? The guide comes out. It doesn't stay in the block. There's a clip, a spring. You know, it pulls out, and they come out. For the price of a new valve guide, by the time you took the time to put that into a vise or a jig and then bore it and put a liner in it, the labor and the cost of the bronze liner, you could have bought the guide. So on a Chevy 350, the guide is casted into it, a bunch of different vehicles. So you can put it up on a machine, you could bore them out and put a K-line. See, the K-line guide liner, what made it so advantageous was that it was easier. Back in the day, we used to have to put it on the machine, and we used to have to bore the guide out to a half-inch guide, minimum half-inch guide. That was a standard guide. And then you reamed it, and then you got an air hammer or hammer the driver, and you drove in the guide. That took a lot of time. So the K-liner, the K-line liner, it's a bronze liner. It was a lot quicker. So that's the advantage of that. On a flathead, there is no advantage of it. You'd have to be in a different realm of precision if you were trying to tighten up clearances and you wanted a bronze liner. But understand that a bronze liner, you heard it here first, but you didn't hear it here first. I'm sure someone else said it. I just have never heard it. You don't want to use a bronze liner. K-line bronze liner is one of the best. The brand K-line. Now you got to go look it up. Ask me if you want to see a video on K-line bronze liners, but they wear out valves. I know, I had to say it quietly because all the other shops that are listening to me are going, what do you mean they wear out valves? Everybody's using them. Yeah, everybody is using them. You want to know it? If you do want to know, I'll say it. They're not going to put myself out there. Hey, I'm not going to put myself out there, but I may be calling out other shops, and there's a reason for it. If you want to know, I'll say something. If I'm not.
Kent is also asking, what's the best valve size for a street flathead V8? And that's something we address here regularly.
Yes. On this particular engine, going bigger is not necessarily better. Yes, we do a 1.6 intake and a 1.5 exhaust. I like 1.5 on both. And for a lot of, but no one I can tell you right now, you're gonna go, oh, he said this, but you got a different scenario. And the thing is that the most problem that a flathead has that I'm concerned with talking about, you don't get a lot of bang for that buck. So bang for the buck, a Chevy 350, an LS, you put a cam in it, you got 400 horsepower. A flathead Ford is a lot of money for 1 horsepower, and a lot of stuff that people do actually make it run worse. Okay, so the exhaust ports on a flathead Ford, it's not 1 port per cylinder. The center Siamese cylinders have a Siamese exhaust port. So both of those connect together and go out the side of the block. So look up a flathead Ford, look at the side of the block, and you'll see 3 exhaust ports. They don't have the ports in the head because it's flathead. So the ports are in the block. There's 3. The 2 in the center are combined together. They have a flow issue already and a heat issue there already. So unless the scenario just happens to be just right, putting a 1.6, 1.5, what are we doing? We're getting more inlet airflow. It's the exhaust airflow I'm more concerned about. If I can get it to flow more air out the exhaust, I'll flow more air out the intake just because it can get it out faster. So in one of those scenarios, unless you're upping the compression, flatheads are 7.5 to 1 compression. Unless you're upping the compression, or you're really changing the characteristics of a flathead. So you're going in there and you're really changing the characteristics of it. You're balancing it. You're running it at a different RPM than it was originally made for. You're running a different intake, different heads, and really a lot of different scenarios. I will put a 1.6 and a 1.5. On Lewis Brooks' French flathead, we're going 1.6, 1.5 on it. It has, but it's not your average flathead. The average flathead, don't make the mistake in falling for that. I need that big intake valve, the one, you know. I tell everybody, you get you a belt buckle, get you a bigger belt buckle. Tell all your buddies you have the bigger valves, but you're going to run better with the 1.5s. All right. All right. Terry, you still with me? There's Terry fall asleep. Terry, you there?
Well, Terry's also in Germany, so if he fell asleep, he can be forgiven.
I got it. You know, I did this live stream for Terry. The last two Fridays, I forgot to even mention that we were doing live streams. He provided the glass. He provides the moral support. So
He provides the pachanga.
he provides the pachanga. It's Pachanga Friday, and if you want to know what Pachanga Friday means, is how do you spell it? Chop Mom is right there.
P-A-C-H-A-N-G-A.
There we go. And I am working on better audio recording. Have a mixer. I got all this nice stuff. I like technology. I like a lot of stuff.
So
but
RC's with us also.
I'm trying to make it work. RC is with us also. We're both here.
Yes.
RC, we got the brains of the family. It's RC and Shop Mom, Elaine. So can't wait. We're going to Germany. Damn it. We're going. Sorry, did I say that? Am I going to get demonetized for saying that?
But yeah, I don't know that you're going to get demonetized for saying anything.
Alrighty then. So, I think I've vented quite a bit. Now I can just go whatever.
If anybody has any questions,
If anybody has
it's a
anything,
good time to ask.
I shouldn't be stressing everybody out on a Friday, right? I should be venting. I'm just trying to help. Like I said, I was really pleased that we got a phone call saying, "Man, great video tip. Tell everybody take their stuff off." And y'all don't know that, so that's actually a customer's head. And I even came in and I told Shop Mom, I said, "Should I even do this?" I a lot of times think out loud or think so fast with the phone, you can shoot a video before you even thought about it. Was that a good idea or not? So I get Shop Mom to okay the video, thinking I'm not calling out the customer. He's a young kid, actually a master tech, and it's not that he doesn't know what he knows, but there's certain things that you might not know how we in the machine shop feel when we see all this stuff hanging. There people come in with there's cables still on, power steering pump still on. I mean, people, come on. Anyway, I'm past that though, aren't I? Aren't I past that?
Okay, so
Come next year for Oktoberfest. We're there. Or did I say that? Did I already commit already?
yeah, you committed, but everybody knows I can overrule you at any point in time.
True.
I'm older.
True that.
I'm older. I get to be the boss.
True that.
Okay. There's a question. I block filled my B230 16 valve turbo after I had it bored and honed. Will the block filler get the cylinders to deform, you think?
So you filled like a Moroso block fill or concrete or something? You're talking about that you filled your block for stability around the cylinders? Is that what we're? Yes or no? I think that's what I'm getting. Is that you filled the coolant passages with like a?
I filled my B230 16 valve turbo after I had it bored and honed. Will the block filler get the cylinders to deform, do you think?
Okay, I got it, and that wasn't the thing to do. If you want to block fill, the block, that really should have been done before any machine work is done. Moroso makes a great block fill. Looks like concrete. Back in the day, we just used to mix up concrete. We would pour it. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, is the water passage around the cylinders. The cylinders can actually stretch, and actually not can. They do stretch all the time. They're flexing all the time. But when you start putting boost in, you start putting a lot more cylinder pressure in, you can actually blow out a cylinder. And at the worst case, you distort and blow a head gasket, you distort something. But even more, you'll blow a big old chunk out of the side of the block because the cylinder pressure was just more than the cylinder could hold. So what a little trick is, back in the day, we would get concrete, regular concrete, and we would fill half the block up the side with concrete, still leave, depending on how much idle time or run time it was going to be. The more just drag car, we fill up to an inch from the top. And there's just an inch of water going across the top. There's still water in the cylinder heads, but the block was solid. What that would do, it would stop the cylinder from exploding, right? From stretching. Okay? But concrete, it doesn't react exactly like we want it to by expansion with heat. So once it starts to cure, also, it'll shrink up on you. So it will distort the cylinder once it's curing. What we like to do is we use a Moroso block fill. It looks like concrete, but it's specially formulated, some special space age polymers, whatever you want to call it, that allows it to not act like concrete does. It actually will mimic the block when it heats up and cools a lot more, and it doesn't come loose. But we pour, I pour concrete block filler Moroso, have it on the shelf. I can show you a bottle of it if anybody wants to see it, and let it sit for almost a week. I'll let it cure before rolling the block over, and then pour the other side, and then let it sit a week. Let it really cure really good, and then I'll bore it, hone it, and do all of the machine work. And I'll let it go a week. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
You filled it up to the expansion plugs, the freeze plugs.
He filled it up to the expansion plugs, and this is what Shop Mom is in. What a great shop assistant! Look,
I am not the assistant.
she's not the shop assistant. I'm her assistant.
I am the boss.
She's the boss. So this is Moroso block fill. It comes in a powder. You add the correct amount of water. It comes with a little instruction sheet. Mix it all up. Put a funnel up, and then you pour this into your block. He said he did his up to the freeze plugs. So he did just the bottom to make the bottom a lot more stable. And hopefully he used the Moroso. If he just did the bottom, hey, it is what it is. Nothing you can do about it now. Next time, or for anybody looking, watching, listening, do that before the machine work is done. Do that before any machine work is done. All right. Hey, I got somebody that wants to do some adult dating,
Okay.
but
They don't get to.
they don't get to. So
Okay,
ignore that.
There was a question from Howard,
Mm-hmm.
who, let me see, where did it go? I have an assembled engine, 7MGTE, that has been on an engine stand since 2007. Should I disassemble it again to relube the bearings before I install it into the engine bay?
Okay, if you were very, very old school and you use lubriplate, I might suggest that, because lubriplate, while very good, and we use the tar of it, and today I still use it in different applications, but not on anything that's going to be long-term stored, because it'll actually dry up and you'll actually get like a plug in your oil line. That's only with lubriplate. If you used regular motor oil, you're good to go. If you use AMSOIL, you're good to go for another 10 years. If you use driven assembly lube, same thing there. So if you use an assembly lube that's like an oil-based, like a thick STP, still a very good, inexpensive. I'll actually mix up a mixture of STP and non-detergent motor oil for about 80% of the non-high-end race stuff. Still nice stuff, but you're okay if you use any of those, because they're non-hardening. They'll sit there forever. That's the beauty of it. But turn the motor over and pre-lube it. If you can do with a pre-lube canister, if nothing else, I don't want to tell you, don't go just cranking on the dang starter to pre-lube your motor. That's not really pre-lube. You're already cranking. Forget the pre. You're already there. So you want to pump oil in through one of the oil fittings, through a canister. Now, Jeg Summit, everybody. The beauty of the LS is that it's brought down the cost of building stuff for everybody else. Kind of a little bit. That's a little. Don't get me wrong. I love the LS, but LSs need to be pre-lubed with a canister. Not the old way with the drill. Remember, you have the drill on that you reach. You pull the distributor out. You put a drill to the oil pump, and you get oil pressure. Then you put your distributor in. Well, LSs have the oil pump on the front of the crank. You ain't doing that. And don't be the one that cranks the motor over and you kill it, darn thing, just getting oil pressure up. So use a because of the LS, now you can buy it through Jeg Summit. I don't have any affiliate programs. If I was smarter, I'd be making a lot more money. But now they have those canisters very inexpensive.
Now, David Johnson asking about the block fill, wouldn't a sleeve do better?
Not necessarily because not necessarily. The thing about a sleeve, the majority of sleeves, unless you got an import, we're talking about a different thing when we're actually getting rid of the complete aluminum cylinder and putting in a big Dalton sleeve in it. A sleeve goes in still inside your sleeve. So you're still boring it and you're pressing in a sleeve. It is no thicker than it was before you put a sleeve in it. You could put in a HP sleeve, a high performance, high nickel
But
sleeve.
even that's only an eighth of an inch.
Yeah. So really, no. It's more. I would prefer. Think about the dissipation of heat, but you're putting block filler in, so don't bring in dissipation of heat in my world. I got you. Okay. So, but when you have a sleeve inside of a sleeve, unless it's nice and tight, stop it, people. We don't have we want the heat to transfer. So a lot of people put, Loctite put all kinds of different stuff in between the two sleeves. Sleeve retainer would be the more the proper thing to use, but I see people use all kinds of different things, and it would actually be like an insulator. So the heat is not transferring; it's stopping at this insulator that you have between the sleeve and the sleeve you put in. Does that make any sense?
Okay, there's another question from JW. How do you minimize galling when removing valve guides from an aluminum head?
Awesome. I love these awesome questions. The real awesome question. Don't be that guy that just and rips it out, and then now you got to spend all this time doing all this crazy machining to put in an oversized guide and whatever. That was because you didn't do this. So what you want to do is you want to preheat the head a couple hundred degrees. You don't have to get crazy. If you don't have an oven, you could do it with the torch. Don't sit there and get crazy. You want to give it a little bit of heat. A little bit of heat is going to get that expansion going. Aluminum is going to expand at almost twice the rate of cast iron. So you get what I'm going with this. Don't sit there and burn it. But we like to heat up the head a little bit. But even if you do it cold, I got a way that you can do it and not rip all the aluminum. I learned this in the Volkswagen days. Okay, you ain't never going to get a guide out of Volkswagen without breaking out the whole aluminum guide with it. You know how you do it? Go one way, one tap, and then go back the other way. What it is it's stuck. As you start to drive this out, it's stuck and it grabs it. As it's going out, that little grabbed piece of aluminum that's stuck on the guide, it's now starting to ball up in there. So you're going out, and then it's just balling it up. You're bringing aluminum with it because it's stuck on the guide, so it's coming up with it. The guide is coming in, it's staying on the guide, and it's just ripping all the aluminum out of the guide. As you get further down, further, it's balling up more and more, and it breaks out the bottom of the guide. At the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, you got a big old loose hole at the bottom and on the top. So what you want to do is you want to tap it one way first. If it doesn't have the little step on the top of the guide, then you can tap down first. WD-40, it's warm. WD-40, any lubricant. WD-40, this isn't a commercial because, like I said, I don't have any affiliated programs with anybody. So, and then go one way. What it does is starts to break loose. It starts to go on the guide. Then knock it the other way. When you knock it the other way, it breaks loose. It comes right off of there. And then you go back the other way. So you got to go one way and then the other way. It's just like my uncle said, like Chief said, okay? Chief is Eliseo Garza. He's passed. Bless him, because we're all learning from him even today, because right here, it's the exact same thing we do. If you watch any of my videos, the same thing we do with an exhaust bolt, an exhaust nut, the bolts on a turbocharger. I can take a turbocharger apart and not break a damn bolt. And you try to do that, okay? After this, you will get it done. So we're going to use resonant frequency, and then we're going to tighten first. Tighten first, WD-40, and then release. The same thing with the guide. Almost like tighten first and then release. Sometimes if they have a shoulder on top, I'll still hit it that way just to, I got to give it resonant frequency. What does resonant frequency mean? A hammer. I know it sounds crazy, but we're using a device of a punch and a hammer to cause resonant frequency in the product. Resonant frequency is going to go down the metal. And as the metal changes, everything on God's green earth has a different resonant frequency. So aluminum has a different resonant frequency than steel does. Steel has, iron has a resonant frequency. Once it turns into rust, we have a different resonant frequency. So if we have a nut with a stud and a nut, I'll put a punch on one side and a hammer on the other side. That shock on that nut causes resonant frequency. It has WD-40. It starts to vibrate. It's vibrating back and forth. The rust is a different resonant frequency. It bounces back off of it. Also, if you've ever done metal forming, body shops will know this. Anybody who ever rolls metal knows how metal, one roll in a have you seen guys that are rolling metal? You know what I'm talking about? The two balls, and they're making a fender, and they're rolling it, and it's getting a curve to it. The reason it's getting a curve to it is because it's stretching the metal, right? You're pressing it, it has no place to go, it's stretching, it's making a curve. Hitting a nut on a stud, just the hitting part, besides the resonant frequency, besides the WD-40, we're actually expanding that. So if you hit it often enough going around and you keep hitting it, just like a fender, it's gonna expand. It only has to expand 5/10, 3/10, and it breaks right loose and it comes right off.
Now, you said that Ignacio del Campo, who's from Argentina, by the way.
Ándale.
Hello, Argentina.
Hello,
He
Argentina.
says, I had success by tapping the guide and using a stud, a spacer, and a nut to pull the guide out. Is that okay?
That's okay, but you can still pull the aluminum with it. You can still pull the aluminum with it. You're just, I got where you're going, and you have a different method of pressing the guide. You're pulling it as opposed to pressing it. But unless you go both ways, you could pull aluminum out with it, especially stuff that's really gotten really hot. An air-cooled Volkswagen, you know, my uncle would have us actually bore it out with the drill on a seat and guide machine, because even an air-cooled Volkswagen has a step, so you can't really hit it both ways, and it's just going to gall aluminum. I can get a guide out of aluminum head, and I can't tell you when the last time we put an oversized guide in. It had to have been somebody that walked in from another shop, or walked in and their guide holes are just totally, I mean, they're just mangled. In fact, the last one was a Porsche air-cooled, and they bring it in and the guides are cracked, broken, and want me to you know, give it the magic love. The magic love would have come in before. So anyway, I think I'm venting too much today. Terry, RC, we're going to Germany, I think.
Okay, let's not get too carried away.
We're not getting too carried away. This is
On a Volvo 16 valve, the guide are 0.03 millimeters tapered. I'm assuming it's a statement
okay.
or an observation.
Hey, you talk about the taper is the part that goes into the stem. It all so if it's tapered, you're not gonna. That's a good point. That's a good one. And I'm not gonna. I don't know every single thing out there. That brings up a good point. There's some rare that aren't your average straight cut. So if the Volvo is a tapered guide, it has to just go out. You cannot go back and forth. On that one, if it's sticking and doesn't want to pull right out, I would use, what did we just learn from Argentina? Thread it, put in some spacers, nut, and you're gonna pull. If you don't want to drive it out. The problem with driving it out, and he had a good point, there's just so much data here that when you start to drive out a guide, especially if it's in there real tight, it expands the guide. So you're gonna get your guide driver and you're gonna start either with an air hammer or a regular hammer, hitting on it, and it's gonna mushroom out the guide. It's gonna get fatter. So essentially, you're locking the guide in the bore because it's getting fatter and bigger. And the more you hit it, fatter it's getting, and then you're gonna try to drive that out the hole. So I really do get, and I understand, and I love going the extra mile to thread the top, and then you're pulling. So you're not gonna expand the guide at all. Awesome point. But not everything, not every piece of advice is like straightforward. Use common sense. You know what I say about common sense? If you don't know, ask me and I'll talk about common sense again. But big block Chevy. You know how many big block Chevy people I have come across my life that says, I got water in the cylinder and I didn't have it before. First thing I ask, did you do valve guides? Did you do valve guides? Yeah, I had to. Yeah, we did valve guides. Well, there's the problem, you know. The valve guides on a big block Chevy are water cooled on the exhaust side because they get hot. Big block. It was made for big trucks. So the guide has water that rides around it to keep the guide cool. Well, the guide, one spot of the guide and the other spot of the guide are different sizes. One's like 1,000 bigger than the other side. So you must drive it out. I'm trying to think of the last time I did a guide because we used bronze liners. I just real easily, because I'm bad. I can't remember what I was saying. No, I'm just joking. I'm bad with memory, so I can't remember if you always drive up and drive in from the top. It doesn't really matter. You take a micrometer, you mic the guide. The guide that's bigger, that side that's bigger, make sure that's the side that you drive it out. I believe you drive out through the port, out through the seat, and you drive in back that way. But one is bigger than the other. If you just, like everybody else, I mean, I've seen it so many times, drive the guide out, drive the new guide in. When you drove the old guide out that was bigger, you drove it out the wrong side, it actually made the bore bigger. You put in the new guide, and now you got water just pours right in your cylinder. You're done. Done. All right. So a tapered guide, you cannot go back and forth, but
Well,
still
Ignacio
whack it.
is appreciative of the education. He
Okay.
says thanks for the education.
All right.
And of course, we have our regular comedians in the group. It's so nice
I love
to be back
comedians.
together with the group.
All right. We love our comedians. Who's the I want you want to have the
Venom most definitely is with his a beer, hammer, and duct tape can fix anything.
and you really can.
I don't know that that's necessarily true, but we'll accept it for the purposes of this conversation.
Sorry if I missed it. What is the status on the compressed air engine? Awesome. The status of the compressed air engine, I think it was like 3 years ago, going on 3 years when we built that. The first year was still getting it in the car and setting up the stuff. It didn't take a year, but some test hits, little air, little test hits. And then last year was a lot of really hard hits on it. We're having difficulty putting the power down to the ground, but they keep just throwing, not throwing money at it. It has some electronic shocks on it now. So when it leaves, the electronic shocks have a speed sensor, and it actually lowers the car as it's going. It has like Formula One shocks on this car now. It's that really has helped a lot. We're only at about 14 pounds of boost. We're not even giving it a lot yet. We're over.
Which is actually 28, is it not?
Which is equal. I think it's at which would be equal to 28, but 14 pounds of boost.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Still not what everybody else out there running 30, 40 pounds of boost, 50 pounds of boost. They're crazy. 20. I think the calculations right about now is a little past 2,200 horsepower. The block was only supposed to handle 2,000 horsepower. That's what we built. We built a test engine that could handle 2,000 horsepower, and we could test this system. Right off the bat, we went from a one bottle system to a 2-bottle system, and then we went. It has a number 12 AN fitting, AN hose, all the way to the front that pumps the air into the engine. Right off the bat, I knew this from before we went. If a little air is good, why isn't more air better? And y'all can, this is a man thing, more better. So right off the bat, we determined that the 1/8 was not a problem. We wanted to go, I wanted to put more bottles in it, and we put 2 12. So we have the first patented ever dual system on one system. So now it's evolved to it's not just a one line system. Now if you're a big dog, you can have 2 number 12s going in. And then it did pretty good on the 8 miles. So we want to go 1/4 mile because you can't go. My goal, which mine and the owner and anybody else isn't the same thing, but I'm going, it's like, well, why can't we go out there and just annihilate some street outlaw stuff? I'm not saying we're going to be in the beating everybody, but we should be able to hold our own. So we've now re-upped the system. We've upped the game to 1/4 mile. So we have 3 bottles in the system now. We got 1 bottle, big bottle, in the front seat passenger. We got 2 in the trunk. We're 1/4 mile, and right now, NHRA number 3 in the class. So he's number 3 right now in points. So great question, and this thing is still the same engine we built. It hadn't been freshened up. It's got a lot of hits on it. Same head gasket, same bearing, same,
We have asked him to go ahead and
It's coming in.
It's time to freshen it up.
It's time to freshen it up. We got, he has three more. How many more races this season?
One is this weekend.
One is this weekend. So we'll go look it out. Think, where's he running in this weekend?
He's in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. He's running Oklahoma this weekend. He's running NHRA class events. He's number 3 in points. So he's not out to just bracket racing. He's actually racing this he went, where was he a couple weeks back? He was in Minnesota. This thing's going all over the country at NHRA events. Like I said, he's number 3 right now. Awesome. We've had a little issues. I'm playing with push rods, and you have the acceleration and deceleration of parts. I really threw a lot of my own thinking behind this. So I tried to pull valve spring pressure. I tried to lighten parts. If you have a heavy rocker arm or a heavy valve spring and retainer, you have to accelerate that part and you have to decelerate that part. So yeah, I can build a brutal, push rod and we have the best of stuff on this, but it's still a budget motor. Like I said, this motor, the block is just a Dart cast iron block. It's not a billet block. And we have flexed some push rods. And by flexing all that means is that if the push rod flexes a little bit, and we can see this in valve adjustment, we can see that the push rods are already real close to the intake port. I'm using a conventional big block cylinder head. It's aluminum. It's a 1980s BB2X that has a lot of love to it, but we're not using a modern cylinder head. If you notice that big blocks have a different intake port length, short, long, short, long, short, long. We're using 1965, what Smokey Unit would have used in the Chevelle design cylinder head. Because of that, I don't have room for the push rods and the intake port. You can't, so we've been playing with that, and Manton, awesome, been holding up. When the motor's together, we haven't destroyed, but we do keep an eye on the push rods. That's about the only thing that we do keep an eye on. And when it comes in this next go around, we may be time to change the cylinder heads or see if I can give it a little more clearance and maybe put a bigger, thicker diameter push rod. So if we flex the push rod a little bit, we can lose 30 to 40 thousandths valve lift. Just a little bit of flex. We're not blowing up the motor. It's the same motor, but I'm going into, we're looking at data, and like I said, if we flex the push rod just a little bit, we lose 30, 40, 50 thousandths of valve lift. That's it. But it's a conventional big block Chevy. Terry, it's the same thing that's in the Pachanga wagon, in the Impala. We have a convertible Impala. Terry knows exactly what we're talking about. It's basically that same engine. I mean, it's not a huge motor. It's a 540 cubic inch motor. We built something that anybody at home could build. We're 2,200 horsepower. He's got 3 more races, and then we're going to up some pressure because it's coming in to get freshened up anyway. I told him, I said, I know. You know what? I'll give you the okay. Let's crank this baby up. But every time he puts 1 more pound of air, the car gets squirrely, and then they have to throw more money and get it, and it gets better. Also, this is a 68 Camaro. It's a full metal body car. I mean, he could do drag week with this. It doesn't have carbon fiber. This is a heavy 2,900 pounds, is it?
28.
2,800 pound car. Nobody races a 2,800 pound car. That's like me taking the Flintstones car and go racing somebody. But anyway, thanks, Terry.
That would hurt your feet.
Yeah, it would hurt your feet. Well, thanks, Terry.
Kent Ward has a comment here. I've seen pics of flatty cranks lightened and scalped back in the day. If it worked well, why doesn't Scat cast a lighter crank? Still has huge counterweights.
Okay. It does have huge counterweight. Scat is going to make a crank that's going to be something that anybody can pull theirs out and put this one in. Also, a Flathead has 3 mains. So it doesn't have a main around every 2 cylinders. Chevy 354, Chrysler, 2 cylinders, a main, 2 cylinders. It has 5 main caps. The crank can be pretty stable. We can lighten it up a lot. We still have 3 mains to deal with. So that's it. Just so it's don't.
You can't really overthink that.
Don't think. I mean, you need to. If the problem with a lot of the people that are on flatheads is they overthink it. You need to understand a flathead and not make a flathead understand you. I got these great ideas and I got this, and I'm gonna do. No. You know what? I try to force feed a flathead with synthetic oil. I can force feed it all I want. It told me, wah, 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 I can tighten up clearances on the mains. I can tighten up clearances on the rods. I can tighten. What are you going to do about the loose valve guides? What, that a flathead doesn't have oil pressure
Sorry, that
valve?
is a really.
That was real
really
rude. That was,
expressive.
okay. So that
And-
I got demonetized by Shop Mom just right there by
Yeah,
that.
what
So
the heck?
there's certain things that you cannot tighten up any tighter. It's a flathead Ford. A flathead Ford, the oiling system, it doesn't even have a filter, which there's really nothing wrong with not having a filter on a flathead. That's another misconception that people get. I add filters to them, but really, that's another subject. We don't need. That's another live stream. The valve train, on a flathead Ford is all by splash. It's all by splash. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. So it doesn't have hydraulic lifters. There's no oil pressure at all on the lifters, on any of the valve train. Nothing. The valves, the guides, nothing. A flathead Ford also runs at a lower RPM. So you're going to be, I'm going to get real conventional. I'm going to make this thing turn $6,000. Well, how are you going to lubricate the valve train? So be careful on the flathead Ford. It's an amazing vehicle. You can do a lot with it, and technology has come a long way. We have modern seals now. We have come a long way. But sometimes it will bite you in the butt if you try to get. We did a Bonneville flathead. I mean, it was way up there in money, and it did have the Barton big main cap, billet caps with the supports on the handrail, and all of these things. We're still mounting all this stuff to a stock flathead block. So anyway,
Okay, a couple more questions on the flathead, and then we're gonna get ready to wrap it up because I've got a date with a hot guy tonight.
Oh.
You better look like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
Kent is also asking if you can recommend a good mid-priced set of valves for a flatty. My standard answer for folks, if you don't have a good relationship with your shop, is Reds is a great source for flatheads.
Call Shop Mom.
Yeah,
She'll hook you up. We
I'm-
don't have any of those links or
I'm
any of that.
really
One of the
glad-
days we're
Reds is a real good source for flatheads. Well,
So-
everybody goes to Eggy and whatnot. Although what we use here is an EPW line, and they're mid-sized price. They're good as well.
So what everybody does on a flathead Ford, and like I said, we can just do, maybe next Friday we just do a live stream on flatheads. I don't know, but on a flathead Ford, originally there's no valve adjustment on them at all. Also, the tip of the valve, a flathead Ford, the valve is upside down. It's flathead, and they're not like a conventional overhead. It's in the block. They're upside down. Okay, the valve guide was two pieces. The reason it was two pieces because the tip of the valve actually mushroomed out to a big ball at the end. So you put the one half of the guide, the other half of the guide, because you weren't going to slide that valve into a guide. It's bigger on the tip of it. So the two pieces of a guide went together, and you put that in the block. It was machined, so you had your valve lash, your clearance is done when it gets machined. Done. There is no valve adjustment. You can't tighten up the clearance. You can't do anything. That's gone. We wouldn't. It'd have to be a museum car before we'd put anything of that back on. That's been gone for a long time. Now we use a one-piece guide. SBI, the guide that I use, look up. I know I don't even have, that's Smokey right there, but I don't even have, once again, no affiliate program. SBI makes a one-piece guide, a real nice guide. It's a cast iron guide. Smokey Unique would have said there's nothing better than a cast iron guide for lubrication and for reliability. So we have now a one-piece guide, and then we use a Chevy valve. So we're going to use a Chevy valve. It's going to change up, but it's so close that you are going to have to play with your. You don't have valve geometry. You don't have a rocker. So whatever the cam lift is, that's your valve lift. But you can cut the stem, and then you can adjust the lifters. Now they're adjustable. You put an adjustable lifter. The original lifter was a puck. It was just a lifter cast iron piece. It dropped in, the valve dropped in, no adjustments. Now you have a lifter that has a nut on the top or a bolt that you can turn and set your adjustments. So we use small block Chevy valves. There you go. So
DJ is asking you about a dampener on the Flathead.
the factory dampener, it's really weird because the dampener on a Flathead actually slides on. I mean, the number one point when we're thinking of the dampener or anything in the front is to fit your front setup. So they make different dampeners with different offset, different double pulleys. If you're running different accessories, so that's mainly the concern is to get the dampener that fits your water pumps, your everything in the front. So like I said, unless you're building a Bonneville car, that's something totally different. You're trying to set some record, and even when you're trying to set a record to something like that, we couldn't do an aftermarket block. We had to use the factory block because we're trying to go for that record. Not we, the customer was. Okay.
Todd Gerard is asking, what do you think of the new LT engines in the 22 Corvette? We haven't seen one in the shop yet. So
Yes, but from what I've seen, read, pictures, I guess it's official. Can we drop the news? November news? No.
You can do what you want. I'm not your mother.
No, wanted to drop some news, but we're still on the fence a little bit. Airline tickets are bought. It's official. We're going to SEMA. The reason I go to SEMA, we ended in just talking about SEMA and why there's even a SEMA. Why would you care? Why does anybody care? Is I like to see the trends. I don't believe the manufacturers are going to be there this year like they have. I know Ford is out. I think Chrysler's out. I don't remember yet if Chevy's in or out. And I would spend one day just in the Hot Rod Alley in the Chevy, Ford, and Chrysler. I love Chevy takes their new engines and actually disassembles it and reassembles it on the floor twice a day. Once in the morning till noon, then they'll take a lunch break, they'll come back and they'll do the same thing. The Ford had the EcoBoost going there. So I go to see the new trends, to see what the industry is going for. I haven't gone in about 3 or 4 years because the trends were going LED lighting and diesel. I don't want to get into all of that, but when you're sitting on the SEMA cruise and everybody thinks it's cool to throw black diesel over everybody, and maybe I'm just not there yet. I am coming certified though, so it's not like I don't love diesel. But the trends were LED lighting in the fenders and LED lighting on dry shafts and LED lighting on here and LED lighting there, and you know, it started to kind of take away. I'll spend my time in Hot Rod Alley. I want to know the newest cylinder head, block. I want to know where the trends are going. Anyway, that's what I get out of SEMA. Go talk to our vendors. We'll talk to Smitty at Edelbrock, find out what's going on, tell me the truth, because Smitty will always tell you the truth. If you're going to SEMA, ask for Smitty. He's probably going, what are you doing to me, Danny? But, you know, if I get a chance to visit with Gail, Mr. Banks, if we get a chance to visit, you know, I will be doing I have one commitment for a interview. Maybe we'll do a live stream from SEMA. Would y'all like to see a SEMA live stream? AIM Hot Rod Glass, she's now in Texas, so she will be there and has said, sure, I'll sit down with you. We'll do like I'm doing. So maybe we'll live stream from SEMA. Does anybody know what SEMA is?
There were already questions about SEMA. People know about SEMA.
So would you like to see a live stream from SEMA?
I would just like to
I'll walk
point
the floor.
out that Dan says.
Yeah, Dan.
No, Dan didn't say. One says, hi Dan, I heard you used to tell people you spent all day looking for parts, but in reality it's your lovely wife doing all the work. So,
and that is the truth. He's talking about the eBay commercial. So yes, and in reality, I guess sometimes you don't believe everything you see in a commercial. The commercial, it's really me. I was real pleased with that. They actually wanted somebody real, not just an actor. Shop Mom finds all the parts. And actually, I guess that where she finds all the parts. Whenever we have difficulties, I come in and I find it on eBay. Everybody knows that's just not. If you don't know, you know.
And then I go home and make dinner.
And we have to go home and make dinner. So, but that's the point. If you can't find the part, don't give up. A lot of the manufacturers have an eBay store. It may not be in their name, but I found stuff that has allowed us in the last year or two to get stuff done on eBay. So I have no problem, because it's not like I had. I'm going to end this on this, but I had somebody say, "Oh, eBay's all full of all the Chinese crap," and I'm like, well, eBay doesn't manufacture any parts, first of all, and Walmart and Amazon, they have the same stuff, right? And when I go on eBay, what I like about eBay is I can buy a Moroso oil pan. Yes, they have the China one right there too. You're the one that clicked that $20 oil pan. Don't blame eBay for a Chinese oil pan that's $20. You clicked it. If you wouldn't have clicked it there, you would have got it from Amazon, or you would have got it from Walmart, or you would have got it from Rock Auto, or you would have got it from ever. I'm not picking on anybody else. eBay has, if you want the cheap and you want that, I'm not saying that everything from China is cheap, or that's not the point at all. The finger is connected to your arm, it's connected to, you're the one that clicked and you chose to buy that product. And if it was $19 or $20 for an oil pan, what were you thinking? When a Moroso pan is $200 or $300. See, so your arm is connected to that button. So don't rag on eBay with all that China crap. No, they have whatever. It's a mom and pop stores all over the country that are putting their stuff on eBay to sell. So you're really buying American. You're buying American. You're buying from a mom and pop. Yes, you can also click and buy Chinese stuff. You can choose to either support America, or you can choose to support whoever you want. But don't blame eBay. It's just a platform that allows you to have that choice. Like I said, I can buy a set of spark plug wire. Yes, first of all, we like to support EPW, our local warehouse, engine parts warehouse. So we like to support them. Sometimes I'll pay a little bit more, but they had it in town in San Antonio, and they had it. And if you want parts in your neighborhood, support your neighborhood auto parts. If not, don't complain there's no auto parts and prices are too high. Well, you are the one that made Amazon to take over the world, because you wouldn't support your local auto parts store. So we all got to be proactive. I don't mind paying a little more from EPW because they had it in stock. They took the time to put it in stock. I went and got it there. But you can choose how to spend your dollars. So don't blame anybody. Don't blame Amazon. Don't blame. I'm not picking on any of those things. But it is a great platform to. A lot of the engines we do are old school engines, and there ain't these parts for these anyway. Well, guess what? I found a Buick nailhead crankshaft on eBay, an original Buick nailhead crankshaft. So was there any other platform that you were going to find that? All right. That being said,
There's a lot of positive response to your thought about live streaming from SEMA.
Okay.
Which is very cool. And I think with that, you should probably just kind of wrap it up, because, like I said, I got a date with the hot guy.
Okay, that's fine. And between now and then, or do you have a preferred time to live stream? You know, so if you say, man, it'd be awesome if you did it later. It'd be awesome if you do it earlier. We're going to be at SEMA, so I can do it any time at all. I have things that we're going to do. We're actually, we're going to wrap it up. But have you read any of my eBay blogs? Go to eBay Motors, and there's blogs if you like to read. So there's, we have some eBay blogs. We have a lot of eBay blogs on the eBay platform, on the eBay Motors platform. So we're going to be going up there as well. And like everything else we do, I want to stay in touch and see what's the trend. So that will be a blog. We're going to see what's the hottest thing at SEMA. I'm going to right off the bat, 15 minutes from inside the store, inside of SEMA, I want to start giving y'all some, like if you were there, if y'all want to see that, from walking in live, like if you were there in the crowd, if there's a booth that you say, hey man, can you go by the Holley booth to show me the newest Holley fuel injection? Hey, why not? I want to be there anyway. So anything that maybe you wish you were there, but you can't be there, and we can make that possible if in the virtual reality world. Okay, all right, we're gonna
say peace and assembly.
We're gonna say peace and assembly
and
grease.
thank everybody for being here. This is fun, guys. I think we'll try again next Friday. Let's get those questions in. This is a free education, folks.
It's just free. I'm gonna go with Terry. TR, when you see Terry, that's Terry. I don't know if I want to say his last name, and RC. We just call him Terry and RC. I'll just live stream whenever he can see it if nobody else says anything else. He's got a little more clout. Terry, thanks for being here.
His big sister says he has a lot of clout.
His big sister says he has a lot of clout. Everybody, I don't know, peace and assembly grease. It's officially over. All right. We'll see you on the next one. I guess maybe we'll do another one on Friday. Faye will be back. She's at Supra's in Vegas right now. So wish we were there, but we're here. So we'll get that back together again soon. We'll see you. Peace and assembly grease, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Dan, you just in at the very end. So Jasmine, hey, how you doing? All right.
Yes.
Peace and assembly grease, everybody. And we'll see you next Friday. If not, just watch some of my YouTube shorts that I've been doing every day, a tip of the day. All right. I think we're done.